Now it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our first speaker today, who is none other than our respected director, Professor S.S. Patnaik. To introduce him. Before joining to the post of director, Professor Patnaik served as Vice Chancellor of Biju Patnaik University of Technology, a technical university of Government of Odisha. During his tenure as Vice Chancellor, Professor Patnaik brought on many innovative approaches in the university. Professor Shyam Sundar Patnaik completed his postdoctoral research from University of Utah, USA, and PhD in engineering from Sambalpur University, Orissa. A recipient of Voicecast Fellowship from DST Government of India, Professor Patnaik also is awarded with SERC Visiting Fellowship, INSA Visiting Fellowship, UGC Visiting Fellowship, Distinguished Faculty Award, National Educational Excellence Award, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Award for Excellence, Bharat Excellence Award, Institutional Leader Excellence Award, Certificate for Commendation for Excellent Efforts in Sponsored Research Scheme, Lifetime Achievements in Technical Education, Merit Certificate, Best Paper Awards, etc. Professor Patnaik is a known researcher in the area of antenna and soft computing and their application to biomedical. He is the brain behind the use of Google Hangout to conduct faculty training programs, which started in 2012, thus opening a new approach in digital pedagogy. May I now invite you, sir, for your expert talk on socio-digital pedagogy for quality audio.
Is my presentation visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
It is visible, okay.
Yes, sir.
So once again, I welcome all of you. So this is a thought process which I am going to share with my participants, mainly with my faculty colleagues, so that we can do a manthan on this particular topic. First few slides are confined to some basic information. Many of you might be knowing that. After that, I'll come to the thought process which I carry with me, so that we can work out how do we go about on this particular topic. As Professor Rajni Saroraji was just talking, that there is a war of capturing the education systems. So therefore, when I was thinking over this particular education system of the country, then I could realize that the education is no more confined to the four wall of the institute. It is no more confined to the local region. It is no more confined to the country. It has penetrated to the society. So therefore, the institutional education system has moved from organization to society learning. And that's the basic motive of renaming the pedagogy as socio-digital pedagogy, and how this socio-digital pedagogy will help us to improve the quality of ODL. That is what I am going to deliberate in front of you. Some of the key points which we would like to share, I need not again go on this thing, but one thing I would like to tell. The multi-entry, multi-exit of education system is not new to this country. Let me inform the participants that the institute, which was established way back in 1986 in the place called Nirjuli in Arunachal Pradesh, they used to follow this system of multi-entry, multi-exit long back since 1986. The concept is not new, but the concept is minimally used. But today, NEP 2020 is advocating for its large-scale utilization, expansion. So therefore, if you see even the Academic Bank of Credit, we used to have a system called equivalency. We follow that in university system. We follow recognition of prior learning. So somewhere indirectly or directly, this Academic Bank of Credit has been given some importance. But now it is more structured, it's going to be more structured. so that every institute can plan out their academic programs, and the learners, instead of going through a tedious process of again inventing, struggling for getting credits, those past credit can be recognized for his upward progress. So there are many such issues which will be discussed in due course of time. So these are all key points everybody know is aware of this thing. But in meantime, let me just bring you back to some of our past glory. One thing I would like to emphasize here is the experiential learning. Today, when this term is discussed in front of the participants, experiential learning, they think, oh, something is big is happening. But if you go back to our history, go back to our glory of this country, it is not new for this country. The multidisciplinary education, different school of thoughts under the same rooftop, where the course completion is not based on the university examination, but based on the teacher's satisfaction. All those things were happening. So Takshashila is the best example of your experiential learning, which the Western world has coined this term for us, and we are so excited to use this term, that experiential learning. But when we search the history, search the past records, you will find that these things were in use, these things were in practice in this particular country. Similarly, like giving importance to the knowledge-based mega data systems of knowledge. Imagine that a university like Nalanda used to have 90 lakhs manuscripts housed in a big library of 9-storied building. Today, you go to any place in this, you'll find hardly any such big libraries or any big organizations. And today we talk in AICT or NBA when we go for accreditation, is that student-teacher ratio. This 10,000 student to 3,000 teacher was the combination which the Nalanda used to follow, 1:3. So the Western world coined term of personalized learning is not new to this country. This is very much was in use. The people of this country, they used to teach this way because there was a concept of शिक्षा दान. शिक्षक कभी दान लेने का मूड में नहीं रहता था, शिक्षक दान देने का मूड में रहता था. इसीलिए वो जो गिविंग ऑफ नॉलेज टू अदर्स, इससे बड़ा दान नहीं है बोल के जो हमारा शास्त्र बोलता है, ये पर्टिकुलर थिंग वाज इन ट्रू सेंस followed in this wonderful country. So therefore, now it is time that the NEP 2020 is taking back in the timeline to make us realize, look, you were a one-time world leader in education. Please restructure yourself, reinvent yourself, re-engineer yourself, reverse engineer yourself, so that again you can drive the world education system. So the war of education can be won by you for your dedicated efforts, because already you are a creator, innovator of this type of model. So therefore, it is now high time that teachers like us, who are mentally, emotionally, physically involved with the education system, should come forward, create our own clusters, do manthan brainstorming, and give a right direction or right recommendation to the people who are in the helm of creating the documentation or roadmap for this country. Just to remind our strength, These are all, I told you, initial some slides will be to bring back to you certain strengths which are underutilizing. Nearly 11 lakhs institute technical, because I will be confined to the technical institutions only. Nearly 11 lakhs technical institute, 5.6 lakhs faculty, 33 lakhs students. You pick up any country in the world, nobody will be nearer to us. Nobody will be nearer to this strength which we are having. So when it is a number strength, we are much ahead of any country of the world. But when we go for a micro analysis of our strength, then we see that there is a big disjoint. There is a weak link. We are confined to our own cell without realizing that what is the need, how the society is moving ahead, what these industries are looking forward to. So if you see the report of 2018, it says only 19% institute is having platinum linkage. That is the linkage with industry. So platinum linkage is such linkage, if the institute scores more than 30% as mark, they get platinum. So only 19% of the institutes, they are capable of scoring 30% marks out of 100 to get the certificate of platinum linkage with industry. That means this shows that how much we are away from the industrial requirement of this country or the world. Therefore, there is a brain-drain approach. So when these students, they realize that the curriculum, the delivery, the knowledge system is not meeting my requirement of getting a better placement or better entrepreneurship approach in industrial environment, let me go out. So therefore, if you see out of 10.9 lakh students who are running away from this country, only 2 to 3 lakhs goes, they go for UG. That means only 12% maximum. They go for UG, which is slightly different now. 88% students, they used to for PG and PhD. So that means the country's higher education system, especially the graduate systems or the so-called the postgraduate system, was not meeting the requirements of students' aspiration. So these are the disjoint to be bridged, and how do we do that? So there is a lot of hopes now. The things are moving. The government has really realized that. They have come forward to support through many of the rules, regulations, easing that, and those things are coming into picture now. So now let me just bring you back to our theme topic, the open distance learning or the online distance learning. So which is the ODL which we are talking. As an institute, NITR Chandigarh always used to advocate for blended learning. And they created many examples, like sir was telling that you should create pilot projects. So he knows that NITR Chandigarh created many such exemplary pilot activities. The success stories were told to the system. But after that also, many of the people, they were not taking the risks. They were the bench sitters. So the COVID has created a havoc to the society, to the humankind. We are really sufferer. But one thing it has made us realize, to those people who were the bench sitter on online education, they have started accepting the online education system. They have realized now that online education is a reality, and it can also create equal educational or knowledge impact to the student mass, and the teaching learning can really take a different shape. So therefore, even the COVID is going away or will go away, there will be a blended learning, because the test of online education is now tested by many. A small kid of KG is learning through his mobile, through his tab. So you cannot ask this boy to be confined to your four-wall classroom when he will reach to the college or to the school system. So therefore, realizing this, we at NITER, we believe that the future post-COVID education, in fact, now already it has started, it will be blending of contact, open, virtual, immersive, distributed learning. It will have a contact, it will have openness, this open protocol. It will be virtual, the cyber physical system will be integrated. It will be immersive, like the tools like augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality will be utilized. In fact, I used to tell my colleagues that holographic image, another 5 years time, you see, it will come. You will be clones through holographic image. You will be in multiple places if you are really a renowned teacher. And the education will be distributed. It will be a distributed system. So a distributed protocol will come into picture. So the blending will be such that we'll have a COVIDial type of education system in the country. Therefore, the open distance learning will not follow the orthodox model of ODL. It has to evolve as a blended ODL, having all the components which are here listed. So the COVIDial approach has to be there. Then, as we look at the learner-centric approach, because of this online, you see, when the universities are now looking forward to offline notifications, there is a lot of resistance by the student community. Why they are resisting? There are different, all positive, negative stories are behind this. But one thing is very important, that the students are looking forward to their own space. They want to define the ecosystem for themselves. So therefore, the ubiquitous learning, which the ubiquitous technology, ubiquitous computing, which used to teach or tell to the students in 2007 and 9, during that period, 2007 to 2009, the ubiquitous computing was under lot of discussion. It is now really in this COVIDial situation is more important, because the ecosystem demand for ubiquitousness and all the environment, both the things are integrated here. So therefore, the learner-centric approach, its true sense is ubiquitous. So looking into this ubiquitous approach, when you see the employer's need, since everything is possible, so they are also demanding for everything. So complex problem solving, in fact, is an important requirement. Without creativity, critical thinking, it is not going to come. Therefore, a lot of emphasis in NEP 2020 is on critical and creativity thinking. Then dealing with the people, the empathy, sympathy, emotional intelligence, coordination, managing, this is also part of the game now. And also, since the systems are more smarter, so judgment and decision cannot wait. So latency cannot be accepted. So therefore, they want your students to be a technocrats or engineers, having all sort of tools with him to solve all difficult problems. He should be a good manager to manage human resources and also the machine resources. Maybe robots will come into picture, and they should not wait for long to take decisions. A faster actions is required. So therefore, if you see, a lot of these ingredients are demanded from our students. So the total environment has changed. The student-centric approach has changed. The employer's needs are different. Also, a lot of these interdisciplinary areas are coming in, where it is a branchless areas. somebody is talking about Internet of Thing and it is a department of electronics is claiming that it is my department subject, that means he is fooling people. So if you see this type of subjects, whatever is listed here, I'll quickly just skip this. These are not any discipline specific subjects. So therefore we have to come out of our silo mindset of department. It has to be a thought process of departments. So these are possible because the key driving factors are evolving, which are going to connect this cyber physical system seamlessly, so that the thought process, which is evolving from silo thought of departments to departments, institute to institutions, are going to be possible because things like virtual reality, augmented reality, autonomous systems, mixed reality, cloud, many such things. Here it is limited space, so I didn't put all, but these are all key driving factors which are now available. In fact, in this institute, we are very seriously after a lab called AR/VR lab, because we know that without AR/VR, you cannot give a immersive learning to the student. Unless a student is put inside a transformer to see how a transformer oil is getting heated up when it is used. In a physical system, you cannot put, but in a virtual reality system, you can put that man inside. So those concepts, those difficult concepts, those complex problem solving concepts, creativity, innovation can be enhanced by using those type of tools. So the key driving factors are really coming up. All those things are available, but when it comes to our capacity, capability, then there is a very disturbing report. Like, it may be exaggeration, but everybody is like NIT of Chandigarh faculty. They are capable of all sort of this holistic requirement, but not everybody. So therefore, when it comes to the holistic quality factors for the faculty, almost all 80% people, they fail. Another big bottleneck is the rigid curriculum approach, where the faculty members, they don't want to really give this freedom for making the curriculum. They're too rigid about sharing their part of unwanted requirements. So in Deloitte's Insight report, these three key factors I have taken, but in my opinion, when I am closely monitoring these activities and being a faculty, I am just going through this, and I see that the faculty members are still not having the capacity, capability to manage the remote classes. They lack that creativity of managing the remote classes, how to engage the classes, how to immerse the classes. They are missing that. The limitation in handling the various digital tools is also still persisting. An innovative, creative curriculum for virtual scenario is also missing. And the networking approach, collaboration, is all not fully utilized, so that the institute to institutions, organization to organizations, me to we, all these are somewhere having certain limitation. And void for all, bring your own device. We expect everybody will have the facilities, and we define our terms thinking that everybody has every device. So bring your own device for all is a challenging thing also. So therefore, what is required is that we have to come out of this silo approach. It should be now alliancing or integrating with each other. There is definitely an approach of innovation is required, but more so requirement is innovative, intelligent implementation of existing innovation. So I am not against going for a new innovation, like Professor Rajnish Arora is told that when we are using others' platform, we don't know what they will do after some years to us, maybe after a few months. So better to have innovation for our own system, but at the same time, re-engineering or reverse engineering the innovations in an intelligent way is a requirement. So therefore, there should be a thought process, the brainstorming on various innovative tools available, digital platform available, the digital tools available to discuss how innovatively we can really utilize or implement that. Personally, I believe this partnership builds strength, networking creates wealth, and empowerment is the progress, mantra of progress. So partnering, networking, and empowering, these three terminologies are to be extensively used by the management group of the institute organizations to give the extra diversity, the extra freedom, the extra linkage required for the institutional growth. Then we must look forward to this type of concept: experiential university, subscription university, sharing university, many such. I'll give you one example of subscription university, let's say, which is a thought process of mine. Many of you are aware of the NEET platform created by AICT, a very innovative approach of AICT, bringing big educational companies, the companies which are owning the platform, the companies which are owning the content, the companies which are owning the different type of tools, they have brought to a common platform called NEET by AICT. And through this NEET platform, these companies are now getting a link to various organizations to popularize their product, share their product, sell their products. So tomorrow, when you are buying their product, using their product, combining them, you can think of a subscription type of university, that I subscribe this course from this university, I subscribe this course from this university, like I subscribe from Byju's, let's say I supply from ULEC, like that I get different type of subscription approach and get my degree. So this model is going to come. And if you see the infrastructure wise, because why I have brought this in front of you, because many times the students, this faculty, they have a negative thought process, sir, ye to nahi hai, udhar ye nahi hai, idhar ye nahi hai. So, nahi hai, baat nahi hai. Things are evolving. You go back to 10 years time back, I still remember 2012 when we started our ICT mode of exam, my ETV people, they used to run from one institute to another institute. After Friday, they will install the video cameras there. Friday evening, they will quit that place, rush to another institute, traveling almost all 500 kilometers. Then when we started using this Google Hangout, somehow we saved our this travel time and cost. But today, the things are different. You have many such platforms available in front of you. So the ecosystem is evolving. So therefore, having a negative thought process that the things are not in place, things are difficult to implement, is not correct. You must think about whatever is available, how to really intelligently utilize these things. So this is then another big bottleneck to our mindset is, our faculty mindset is the restriction. We are not opening up to the extent it is required. We have that mindset कि ये बच्चा पेड़ नहीं चढ़ सकता है, और जब 10 साल का बनेगा कि 12 साल बनेगा वो पेड़ चढ़ सकता है, 5 साल का बच्चा चढ़ नहीं सकता. भाई, if he is capable of climbing the tree, why don't you allow? Why you have a restriction in your mind that he is not capable? He is capable. So that's the thought process. Everybody has to open up from their concept that everything is possible. Anybody is capable of doing that. That is what was Professor Rajnish Arora was telling, that every individual student has strength. वो सही ढंग से उस स्ट्रेंथ तक पहुंचना, उस स्ट्रेंथ को बूस्ट करना ही एक टीचर का कैपेबिलिटी है. And this is possible only when you remove the restriction from your mind. अगर आप प्री नोशंस माइंडसेट में जाएंगे क्लास में कि ये तो नहीं कर सकता है, ये नहीं कर पाएगा, then definitely this will create hindrance to our progress. So that is what is one of the point which I would like to emphasize. This may be hard to believe, including me, people like us, very senior in the field. We have a very rigid mindset and we don't remove our restriction from the mind. We don't accept that today's generation can do wonders because they are more exposed, more informed, more facilitated, not like us, what we were having. So therefore, don't bring those childhood to their childhood. Their childhood is different, their studentship is different, their requirements are different. So please open up these restrictions, remove these restrictions. Then very important thing is that forecasting. That will help you to challenge the challenges. So this forecasting and the requirement with time needs to be periodically reviewed. I personally feel that the institute should create verticals of different requirements and we should review with time. And the forecasting is such that even if we are going with a simple umbrella thinking that there will be rain, but if there is other things happening, our umbrella should be sustainable. It should not break. It should not create a catastrophic effect for us. So therefore, challenging the challenges always will be there because this is all evolving, dynamic in nature. So therefore, the forecasting is also a requirement of the time. And no doubtly, digital infrastructure strengthening is a requirement for every organization. You cannot run away from this. This is the infrastructure which Chandigarh NITR is having. But not necessarily you all require this type of huge infrastructure. There are low cost, soft infrastructure available. To large extent, it meets the broadcasting quality requirements. And interestingly, lot of free open source tools, FOSS are available. Only important is that we should curate that, create pilot exercise on that. When it meets our requirement, we translate that to our user decks. So therefore, a dedicated team is required to really do research activities in this to strengthen the digital infrastructure. Don't think of buying all proprietary because the money will be a constant for you. But let me tell you, way back in 2012, when I was heading ETB department here in this institute, we used to have a lot of issues in audio video tools. And I started searching what are the different audio tools which are available free of cost. Let me explore. You will be surprised that in my list, almost all 112 or 102, I have forgotten that, but it was more than 100 free tools we could evaluate it. In fact, some of them I used to train people. Video and audio tool, I used to launch a course on e-content generation. There I used to show them that these tools you can use yourself without paying a penny. So don't think that for content generation you have to come to Chandigarh studio. You can create a studio in your laptop itself. So this already in 10 years back we have tried in this institute. So therefore, the institutes, when they are looking forward to distance education, they are looking forward to online distance education, digital education. Without digital infrastructure, you cannot really progress. And digital infrastructure not necessarily invest. No. Somewhere money to be invested, somewhere your time to be invested for free open source tool and curating that. One example I am going to give you how innovative dissemination approach was done in this institute. we created a platform called NITR Chandigarh Technology Enabled Learning. Like NPTEL you are having, we have a NCTL. I'm taking an online class. I'll get back to you. Okay. So here in 2012, we created a channel in our YouTube. The idea was that the experts who are coming to Chandigarh delivering their talk in the studio or they are connected through ICT mode, let their expertise reach to the other people also. Then we created a YouTube channel. We edited the videos. Then department-wise, we cluster them, put in this channel. Today, I think it is a 16 point something million viewers here. It is a old online, you can real-time data set you can see. This is a old slide I'm showing you, but it has now crossed 16.2 or 3 million. So 2012 we established this. If you see today, it is 16 million viewers have now connected to this particular channel. And almost all 1.4 lakhs people are our subscriber. And if you take the countries, India, United States, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Saudi Arabia, Philippines, you can name any country, we are there. What is the investment? The investment is your human time. No money for the server, no money for the YouTube channel. So only we have the internet connections and our people, my people, they work, they curate it, and those materials are uploaded. So this is called the innovative creative use of the available infrastructure. So the examples like the pilot projects examples are many with NITR systems, especially the NITR Chandigarh is a front runner in this digital learning or the ICT based learning or online learning. So therefore, we thought that when the national education policy is going to be discussed, ODL can be a theme topic to be discussed for its implementation. In my opinion, why it is ODL, but since it is a theme topic of ODL, so I'll confine on that. The foundations are based on the three such verticals. One is good curriculum. Second is your implementation. Third is your degree awarding through assessment and evaluations. If you have a very strong three such pillars, the quality automatically will get reflected in your education system. In ODL, it is more pertinent. When we talk to the curriculum, the quality attributes for ODL, when we discuss, you'll see that in curriculum, so many factors will come into picture. When you are thinking of a curriculum, please have a Manthana classical test theory. How much percentage should be given for classical test theory? How much percentage to be given for concept mapping? How much you will be giving for confidence-based learning? How do you create the validity construct? How do you really map to the dynamic demands? How the student will have a flexibility while developing its foundation. Like a person will take subject like economics and will claim for a electronics degree because both are E, you cannot allow that. So that much of flexibility should not be also there. So therefore, how much foundation and how much the flexibility should be permitted, that needs to be discussed. Then, how do you establish a cross-departments link? How do you establish a cross-institutional link? How do you really exploit the networking learning environment? And how do you allow a student to dive into the learning? When I say dive into the learning is basically the student, as he evolves as a student with time, there will be a lot of interesting areas for his choice. So many of the interesting areas, he may pick up few narrow areas and would like to dive into that. how your curriculum is going to facilitate that. These are all challenging. My curriculum department is there. My curriculum faculty must really look into this type of things. So when you talk about the diving into a learning, then it comes with a concept called specialized content knowledge, skill, teaching courses, communication courses, leadership management courses. You cannot tell an engineer cannot have a management course during his BTech career, because tomorrow he is going to be a project leader. How he is going to manage? Certain think courses like personal development course, where he will think about his own ethics, values, social relationships, and also same time career development courses, because which is a lifelong learning, because he has to develop in the career. So if you see because if I discuss curriculum, it will be a full 1-2 hours, because each component has a lot of thought process. So I leave it to my participants here. You take each this component which I mentioned, then you will see that how a curriculum thought process comes out. Then comes to since ODL we are talking, virtual lab, because you are dealing with the technocrats, the students who are going to be techno students. So without laboratory, without hands-on practice, you cannot make them engineers or cannot make them the technocrats. So therefore, you have to plan out for virtual laboratories. And the virtual laboratories are to be taught in a project-based learning environment. Because we know project-based learning, work-based learning, there are differences in these systems. So virtual laboratories should be visualized in such a way that it becomes a project-based learning approach. It should be also a blending with the live laboratories, where you should encourage work-based learning. And where this work-based learning will come, I'll discuss. Subsequent slides will take care of this thing. Then, when they are going through this practice, there will be a reflective practice. The reflective practice will have two components. One, its own self-assessment. You must create a rubrics in such a way that this person can create a self-assessment for himself or herself. And at the same time, the peers also should be assessing him. So, an inbuilt reflective practice should be created so that every interval the person gets a feedback loop, so that, like we say in our neural network, the weights are updated. So this feedback loop should be capable of updating these weights for a optimal output. Then the learning access plan is very important in ODL, because it is deliverable and very delivery, because learning access plan talks about deliverable and delivery. Both the things will come under this. Then digital infrastructure, this is another attribute which is very important, because it takes care of this system and tools, and collaboration networking is the mantra. ODL, if you want a success story for ODL, without collaboration networking is not possible. So there has to be a full-fledged plan on extension, going beyond your boundaries. That is very important. Then when it comes to the teacher's role, the teacher's creativity, the teacher's thought process, then task and engaging the class is very challenging. The teacher has to create the tasks in such a way that, in a very lighter way, I can say, the tasks should be like PUBG game, any digital game, so that the students start entering into that. As they penetrate inside that, they get a lot of challenges, and they will try to solve those challenges, and the class get engaged, and in this process they learn. So the gaming way of learning, if you can create the tasks when the student is not in front of you, you are not in a position to really do a policing on him, then the only way is that your creative, innovative gaming way of tasks will help you to engage the class. Then, in my opinion, success of the ODL system, I will give 50% credit to the assessment. Everything you may do, if your criteria of assessment, the assessment or evaluation things are not rigid, it is not qualitative, then the system will collapse. So therefore, in assessment also, you have to really categorize your assessment. When you are going for formative, summative, blending type of assessment, then you have to categorize it in such a way that sometimes the assessment should be criterion based, sometimes it will be non-reference type of test, sometimes it is a predetermined standardized test, sometimes it is overall authentic assessment for intellectual overall holistic accomplishment, sometimes it is the psychometric. So like that, the assessment needs to be really thought in a brainstorming way. It is not the way we do as for a physical system. It has to evolve, and you have to think in this way, and the curriculum department has to really define each term. What is criterion based? What is this non-reference test? What is standardized test? What is the authentic assessment? And maybe they can create their own certain research input in that, so that the test assessment evaluations, it takes a right kind of platform, so that the students, they are evaluated timely, continuously, so that each components wise they are assessed, which requires a very good rubrics. So therefore, as already I have told you, self and peer assessment is also a part of the learning process. So the rubrics also are to be defined in such a way that this takes care of self and peer assessment, whereas your own formative and summative assessment. The next level of quality attributes which is required is the intensity level of learning, where basically Bloom's taxonomy I am referring to. So when you think about the deliverable and delivery, then please define that what is the intensity level which you are going to address. Whether you are talking about the synthesis or analytics of 5th and 6th level of Bloom's taxonomy or this. So that will obviously, when you decide about the intensity level and you expect your students to reach to that intensity level, your time of commitment also will change. Some class may be within 2 to 3 or 4 periods. Some may go to 8 periods. Some may go to 12 periods. We don't know. So that depends on the intensity level and this combination. And finally, as a teacher, you must define the learning experience, whether it is a self-paced experience, whether it is a group or small group or big group, whether it is a network experience, whether it is a collaborative experience, all those things will come into picture. So these quality attributes, because these are the attributes which will be going through a rubrics map for quality ODL. So now, to implement all this thought process, there are a lot of challenges in front of us. Already I admit that, but challenging these challenges is a requirement of the time. If the bandwidth is not good, how do I reach out to our students? Real time it is difficult, but offline it is possible. Why can't your digital pen drive reaches to them, or why can't they download whenever they have a sufficient bandwidth and interact with you? Then bring your own device. In fact, one of the components which I discussed with AICTE chairman, and it has been his report now, I told in every house you'll see that a lot of these old mobile phones are lying. We don't know how to dispose it of. But if we create a refurbishing team in entrepreneurship, also if some students they come forward and establish a refurbishing approach, these mobile phones can go through a refurbishing, and each institute they will have a mobile bank. Like we used to have book bank in every library, we can have mobile banks or tab banks. The student can issue it, take it, load their materials there, they learn. When they are in the remote locations, when they come back, they return to you. And in a mass, in a remote center, going for an individual attention. So there are many such top call which we have to take, and each has its own innovation and creativity. One final term which I use here, look, as a teacher, you, me, we deal with our students who are physically in front of us. We teach them. I name them as contact student or contact person, C person. So when they are in my physical class, I have a body language, I have a classroom chemistry with them, I have a knowledge delivery approach different. So we have many positive aspects which are associated with the contact person of teaching or the close classroom teaching. But now we are talking about the distance. So those distance learner, I am named them as E person or the electronics person. So now the big challenge is in front of us, how to really put all good aspect of C person or the contact person in this E person so that they also get the inputs like a contact person. That is the transformation which is big challenge for us. So these transformations requires now a collective approach. So this collective approach is leading towards a learning society rather than learning institute. That is what is the socio-digital pedagogy is all about. So this learning should be more towards this C-based cooperative, collaborative, connecting, contributing, customer-oriented, cost-effective. So many C will come into picture. So how do we handle that? Then since it is a remote learning, distance learning, your pedagogy should facilitate the students in such a way that they are excited, they get engaged, they get enforced, they are capable of getting enabling, they get encouraged, their knowledge get enhanced, they start embracing you, they start accepting you. In the process, they get empowered, and also it leads to their earnings. So while really devising the ODL, while keeping the social digital pedagogy in mind, you cannot remove or cannot miss these terms. One of the important aspects of ODL is choice-based learning. So when we talk about the choice-based learning, lot of possibilities, lot of resources are available. So now as a teacher, we have to help them in curating the right kind of the fruits for them. Because they are going to a tree where simple apple is not there. In the tree, a lot of those choices are available. So which is the best fruit in that time to be taken? That is the job of the teacher. So curating of the particular choice, helping them, guiding them, supervising them will facilitate choice-based learning in a better way. If you keep it open-ended, then it may lead to catastrophic effect. But if you make it as a supervised, guiding approach, like you as a supervisor of the PhD, so then that will definitely facilitate them. So therefore, when I see this ODL approach where E person needs to be transferred to C person, a electronics person or a remote student needs to have the ingredients of a contact student, then I see that the transformation required are at the various levels. We really need to transform from our physical assessment to the E assessment. The curriculum which is defined for a physical teaching learning needs to be redefined for E. The content needs to be generated, which will give a gaming type of approach. We have to create and develop or use right kind of learning managements, LMS, CMS. The communication infrastructure should be strengthened and to be selected in such a way that there should not be any audio-video hindrance. There should be seamless communication. The physical experiment should be revisited to E-experiment and E-skilling. The physical collaboration needs to be now defined in terms of E-collaboration. The physical group study needs to be E-group study. The extracurricular activities which physically in campus we are happening, it should be now e-socializing, and also lot of earn while learning concept will come, so therefore e-services can be obtained from our students. Coming to the e-assessment transformation, just want to I'll touch upon, then we'll go to the other part. We talk about proctor examination. Very easy to say, but those who have implemented, they know how difficult it is. Now, the proctoring, video proctoring, audio proctoring, mixed proctoring, and like eyebrow proctoring. So, lot of these proctoring tools are available, but it is a balance between the cost, bandwidth, because ultimately real time when you are going for this, lot of these issues will come. So how do we handle that? One of the biggest thing is that it is not only the knowledge or the skill which is important for our students, because to have a value-based society, you have to create the value, ethics, honesty in them. So this is a big challenge, because how to create that aspect so that the assessment process is not corrupted with unethical or dishonesty. So maybe if we can think of, so one of the assessment process, since we are discussing assessment, I thought let me just have a look to give you examples so that you can think about other assessment approach in subjects also. In engineering classes, we talk about the project work, BTech project work, MTech project work. So we give project work. This is just an example for you. In a project work, what we look forward to? When we evaluate a student, we look forward to his problem definition, how relevant it is. Then we see to his unique solution. Then we see how nicely he is presenting and what is his documentation. If you see here, when we talk about a project work evaluations, then it basically falls under these 4 parameters. Then if we can define the rubrics for each parameters well, with clarity, without any ambiguity, then I think whether he is in the remote location or whether he is in physical location doesn't matter for us, because the objective will be achieved. For example, like the problem definition, because that is the one of the part out of the 4. The first is problem definition. So I'll just, it is a suggestive rubrics, but you may change it. I have created the components, and how do I grade these components? Finally, I have kept a team versus individual assessment. When it goes to the relevance, because in problem definition, we always try to see what is the relevance of this problem. Then we see that how this relevance has been attended. Is the relevance is having a good teamwork? Each member went through a right kind of search? His data is shared? It was extensively discussed? And they came with all differences and arguments. After that, they converge with relevance point that yes, it is the need of the hours to work in this particular problem. So then the partial address component, poorly address component also is there. But last one I would like to take, the team versus individual contribution assessment when you are doing. It is a data collection at this stage. So data collected from reliable source, what type of sources, whether it is a paid journal or a IEEE journal or a patents or a project report or paid project report, volume of data, participation in discussion, respect for other team members, how he is really accepting the other team members. All those things can be evaluated through a right kind of assessment tools. Next, coming to the problem mapping, case studies have been discussed or not, gaps has been evaluated properly or not. Then the resource evaluation. I may be imagining that I will create a project which will go to Mars, but I don't have an infrastructure for that. I don't have resources for that. So these are all hypothetically dream projects. So that should not also happen. So the research evaluation is also part of the component. So this is right in front of you. You can have a look. You may differ also. You may also improve upon this. So the main objective is that each of these components now requires rubrics. And when it comes to the solution, the second component was solution. Then in solution, what do we want to see? What is the creativity? What is the methodology adopted? And how the test bench is created? And ultimately, what is the result obtained? So solution is practically having three components: creativity, methodology, and result. Maybe you can enhance that. You can think. Similarly, I have created the team versus individual overall contribution. So because in a project, in a group, you are assessing the individual. Then third component was presentation. So when he is presenting in front of you, in front of the group, then what do we see? What is the content and how is the flow of content? Is there disjoint or continuous? Is it well mapped? What is his speaking skill? How is he responding to the queries? And what is the team spirit and team bonding? How they have really come together. So these components are basically we evaluate while going for a presentation. Like sometimes we sit in the interview presentation this much. So we create our own division how to really judge this presentation. Lastly is your documentation. Maybe I left this thing for you to decide this documentation, what should be the components for documentation and how do you really create rubrics for that. Similarly, the e-person curriculum, the curriculum which is valid for the contact person would not be directly mapped to the e-person. That is exactly today is happening when I see online classes. In my home also, two of my kids, they are going through this online classes. I am seeing that the total physical mode is completely mapped to the e mode. It is really very tough. And the hands-on laboratory, if they are not coming to your place, can't it be managed in a social integration or industrial integration? And we should now seriously think about 50% curriculum to be work-based. This AICTE is permitting that. In fact, they have already defined that your laboratory 60% can be soft lab. E-content. This content generation is a challenging thing, and like Professor Rajani Sararaji told, that a lot of job opportunities are going to come in these areas. A lot of these content generators will have a lot of jobs. When NPTEL was not there even in the picture, way back in 2005-06, in this institute, we used to tell how to create acceptable e-content. For example, if you see here, the 4-quadrant approach we discussed today in your SWAYAM platform was in practice in this institute. I'll give you one example. When you give a Newton's law statement to your students, let's say you are in a physical class, you are teaching Newton's law. When you are writing the first law of Newton's, your intention is that the students should be attentive to what I am writing in the blackboard in terms of the law, the statement. So that is a text dominance type of situation. We want that the students should see the text, so text should dominate their mind. After writing, as a teacher, when you turn to a student, start explaining that, then it is called faculty dominance situation. Because your intention is that the students should have a background text in the mind, but they should listen to you. But while explaining that, you may like to bring some animations or examples. So that is animation dominance situation. So the example dominance situation. So this is the type of eye-catching when you are creating a video, you bring in front of the student. In addition to this, you always, while teaching the class, you refer that I have picked up this from this book. You refer to these books, also IEEE journal or maybe the Elsevier journal, this component you get. So giving a right kind of learning resource. Then in the class, we always, like I am a teacher in my electromagnetic theory class or microwave antenna class, always I used to ask for some quick assignment there. We engage the class that way. So we judge their critical thinking, problem solving capability on the spot. Then interaction, physically you are there, so you are interacting with them. But if you are not there, you think about the dashboard. Exactly these four things, the four quadrant system is followed in SWAYAM, which this institute, NITR Chandigarh, was practicing, advocating. In fact, if you see my e-content generation videos which are available in YouTube, way back in 2005-06, we used to talk about this. This is the learning system, LMS, CMS, so many, and now the AI-based systems have come. So therefore, you must create tools to have a 3 stages profiling of the student. Before coming to your class, where he was, in between a feedback, where he is, and after completing the class, where he is. So that will give an insight to you that how really you have created impact on the students and what sort of extra remedial action is required in due course of time. So this is then coming to the selection of the right kind of platform, as it is a requirement that we as country must develop our own platform. That's why SWAYAM is the biggest platform for us now. In this institute, we also created a lot of these activities. Now there is a development, product development team. They are working to create their own strength. We are using our own expertise, and maybe that will be shared with others once it is ready. But definitely, it has started giving some output in that direction. So while selecting the platform, we have to really do a lot of research. If you see my people here, my staff here, they did a lot of research before adopting a particular communication platform. So in various levels, they have really done a lot of research comparison. Then ultimately they have accepted where we stand. Now, as technocrats or engineers, it is very important that how do you handle the hands-on experience. So the hands-on experience, you cannot really create the laboratory experiment the way for physical mode you create. The experiment should be defined in a different way, where the experiment should be a task-based experiment. It should involve critical thinking, and also ultimately it leads to some learning analytics. We cannot tell that measure the guided wavelength of a waveguide. It is not. If in physical mode it was a different scenario, because in physical mode you are in front of them, raising a lot of questions, giving them some insight, so their critical thinkings are also excited there. But in remote, in ODL, it should be integrated in the part of your tasks. You cannot give an experiment like this. So therefore, this is a situation that one has to be careful about. The hard experiments which are missing because of the remote locations to be connected by collaboration and networking with industry, NGO, government body. There are a lot of these agencies, they're looking forward to their solutions. So why can't we create the experiments which the student is supposed to solve? There comes the live lab, which I'm talking about. The live lab comes here. Your virtual lab comes here. So that therefore, this is a gradual building of the experimental situation from first semester to the final semester. So how you really ask the student to dive into the branch-oriented expertise or interdisciplinary exercise in the higher semester. So this needs to be planned in our curriculum stage. Collaborations is a mantra of the time. Like Rajni Saroraj told that the local faculties are not to be replaced, rather their role of usability will be redefined. It is a time to call spade as a spade. If we are, like I have named champion faculty, if there are good people who are master of the subjects, and we are delivering through online, digital mode and distance learning mode, why we will not allow these people to reach to all? But like we used to have a tutorial class where all individual problems are addressed, all individual students get a personal attention there, our local faculty will do that job. Rather than teaching these subjects where they have a not that comparable knowledge as the champion faculty, let the faculty get this, the student gets the option of hearing from the horse's mouth. Then the local faculty gives that local input in local language, local thought process with his or her physical chemistry or the classroom chemistry, so that the students are benefited. I always see that this campaign faculty concept is a requirement of this country. Look, when 15 lakh students they're sitting from the IIT examination, you are only taking 10,000 students out of 15 lakhs. Do we think that the rest of our students are not capable to get into the IITs? Majority of them are capable. But unfortunately, that 3 hours, the examination fear, the examination approach, their background, their family background, the place where from they have come, all this matters in that 3 hours. And 3 hours decides that they are not fit for IITs. All throughout their life, they go with this complexity that I didn't get IIT, I didn't get NITs. But they have all the ingredients of to become a IIT students or NIT student, but the 3 hours they cannot utilize. If these type of students are given the option of learning from this champion faculty who are the faculty of IITs or NIT systems, and they are given a choice to get access either from a IIT systems or from their local university system, then if they start accumulating 50% of their credit from the IIT system, at least will create a database in the country that there are beyond IIT students available in this country who are IIT capable. They can contribute to the strategic requirement of the country. At the same time, these people will not go with the suffering with a complexity that I am not an IITian. So this particular ODL approach is now opening up this type of opportunity. So think in this direction. Then rather than creating same laboratory, same everywhere, we can seriously think about center of excellence. We seriously think about center of excellence in the specialized areas so that the students get the right choice, and the cafeteria approach of operating is required for that. That like you can create a time slot, the cafeterias are open, so 24/7 that can be utilized. In our soft computing approach in optimization model, we look forward to the best local thing, multiple local thing. Among the best multiple local thing, we look forward to which is the best. So among the best local, the best of best is taken as the global best. So that word is called local. So this is the approach which is required at this stage. That let's say in Punjab, let's pick up in CNC machine which are the institute they are having the best facilities. So the digital manufacturing, these are the good institute. Which are the institutes who are really having good cyber security lab and tools. So we create the best out of this cluster-wise maxima, then pick up the best out of them and give that facility to our student through a cafeteria approach. So that's the type of thing is possible. The group consultation is very much there, and in my opinion, teachers should come as the last. The peers, the seniors, they should be assigned. Online it is very easy. Let them play. I always say that in first year lab, when first semester, second semester, third semester lab you are doing, out of your 10 experiment or 8 experiment, 3-4 experiments, like in electronics lab, I remember when we used to teach, component identification is one of the lab. So you have to basically see the color code of resistor, then different type of capacitor, inductor, all those things. I personally feel that the student, final year student or the third year student who has crossed this level, they should be assigned this job, that you conduct this class. And there, this should be part of their assignment. So when they come to the class as teacher, they will learn better, they will come with preparations, and the student who is a junior student, when he will interact with his senior, he will be more free compared to a teacher. So the learning process will be a win-win situation for both. Then finally the faculty will come into picture, who will be overall coordinators or overall assessor of the total group. So that type of somewhere, the group individual assessment rubrics, then the peers assignment and their rubrics needs to be discussed. Today, if a singer is singing from Bombay, a jazz team is in Canada, the tabla team is in Orissa, if it is happening and the total orchestra is possible, why can't this socializing, e-socializing is not possible? Unfortunately, the last 1 year now, almost all half of the year, we are going through a very difficult time. And this institute think of going for these extracurricular activities, which they have completely made it zero for their students through this e-socializing. We tried in our annual day, we tried connecting our alumni. So these are all real-time possible. Maybe we need a thought process. So therefore in ODL also, this type of extracurricular, different clubs, activities are possible. So that can be also thought of. ODL never think of club activities, but now it is time that the club activities can be thought of in ODL system. I'm just quickly completing now, give me 2 minutes time now. So if you see this ODL, the open digital learning or the open distributed learning or this online distributed learning, whatever name you tell, it requires a lot of e-services. It requires a lot of manpower for these e-services. So if you are going to hire the manpower from outside, lot of cost will come. So therefore, my suggestion will be, your students are capable of supporting to a large extent of e-service required at the institute level. Remotely, it can be done. In that process, they will earn while learning. So their fee components also to large extent can be compensated, and you will get a low cost manpower service for maintaining and sustaining this system. So therefore, the earn while learning in e-services in ODL method is also a possibility. You may think over it. Finally, let me tell you, whatever you talk, whatever you do, if it doesn't have a quality, your survival is at stake. So your survival and growth completely depends on your quality now. So therefore, set your own goal, create a task force to work on that goal, create a monitoring team to see how it is working, periodically evaluate your benchmarking in terms of ranking, in terms of accreditation, or whatever parameters you want to take, and also make it autonomous using the tools like AI, data analytics, machine learning, so that the quality parameters are judged properly and timely, so that you survive in this system. So the socio-digital pedagogy which I am talking about is completely based on the cooperation, collaboration, coordination, clustering, is the call of the time through networking and partnering. And there are many such tools which are going to help this socio-digital pedagogy. One example I am giving to you here. There is a tool which is called Centiol, and this tool was, I came across this tool in 2014. They talk about unit-wise sentiment analysis of the class. Like I enter into a class today, let's say I'm teaching rectangular waveguide. When I teach this subject rectangular waveguide, once I come out of that, this tool will analyze the class, how much I penetrated through the minds of the students. So there are many such tools, for example, available in this system. So that will really help you to improve your ODL. So if you evolve as a very good ODL system, then it has a revenue model for you. Some of these revenues models we are benefited today. Digital consultancy and extension service is a big revenue model where education to competency you can think of. The product development tool through their approach can create of digital tools. You can think of skill training, recruitment support for virtual lab, thinking to the apex body industries, so that from education to competency, you can really create a platform for all the clients who are looking forward to your digital consultancy. For that, If you want to be a successful digital consultant, then you have to set your goal. That goal start from serviceability to sustainability. So all these parameters will come into picture. So with this word, these are all related links. The PowerPoint will be shared. Certain pictures I have picked up from Google, so I acknowledge those contributors. Thank you so much for your attention. This is from my side. This is a wild thought process of discussing the digital pedagogy in a concept which is fully based on partnership and networking. Here the idea is that I should be removed by we. Everything cannot be addressed by I at this stage. So conducting will be replaced by coordinating. So you will be you as faculty must focus more on coordination rather than taking all the load trying to do yourself everything. With these words, thank you so much for your present hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your talk. And I'm very sure that all our participants, they have benefited immensely from your talk on the various tools which are required for social digital pedagogy for quality audio. Thank you once again.